Very lucky.
The first thing that players of the original games will notice is that this is no longer a turgid point-and-click adventure.
Good thinking, George. Not very subtle, but it worked.
George and Nico now live in a 3D world with a more cinematic feel, but this concluding instalment of the series still maintains a delicate balance between a well-crafted storyline and a cracking selection of brain teasers that made the original series so compelling.
It was a shell casing from the gun.
This time around, it's all about discovering a giant global conspiracy that will threaten the very existence of life on planet Earth as we know it.
Stone from Paris opens a secret door in the Congo.
But before you actually discover what the elusive sleeping dragon actually is, you'll have to make your way through steaming jungles of the Congo and onto more familiar European locations such as Paris and Prague. Gameplay constantly flips between both protagonists at the most cliff-hanging moments, and Sleeping Dragon gives you complete control over your character and context-sensitive commands, which basically amounts to hammering away at the relevant button each time the situation prompts you into doing so.
I can see you.
Okay, whatever you say.
But while the pace of play may not suit everyone, the action does step up a gear when George and Nico are finally reunited and undertake the adventure together. Simple control system aside, you really feel like you're in the world of adventurers George and Nico. And developer Revolution Software was even kind enough to use the original voice actors to keep purists happy and the whole series connected. The virtual actor technology makes non-player characters that much more believable too, and you'll need to interact with as many as possible before you discover what's really going on. While topping the success of the previous titles is always going to be a tall order, Broken Sword the Sleeping Dragon looks set to give long-standing fans and newcomers a very special adventure indeed, providing a fine example of how a game can keep you hooked throughout.
It was scary, but it was working.
Come back, you salope!
Towns flourish in this time of growth and prosperity, becoming influential centers of trade, and the people grow strong under a firm but gentle yoke. And in this magical realm, not one slave's mind harbors rebellion, not one peasant's dreams bend murderous, and the lips of every lord affirm as king the man who thieved the crown.
Defender of the Crown was originally released for 16-bit systems back in the 80s, and if you're of suitable age to have been playing games back then, this might sound all very familiar. As Robin, you have 4 goals to achieve: removing Prince John from the throne, saving the fair maid Marion from John's dingy dungeon, ransoming King Richard, and most importantly, reunifying England. Starting with a strategic overview of Sherwood, play commences with simple controls and decision-making. In fact, things couldn't get simpler. Your first task as Robin is to rid a wealthy merchant of his ill-gotten gold, using your legendary archery skills. And from here on, you'll learn the necessary skills of swordplay, army management, and full war. Successful raiding opens up new and bonus missions, introduces new characters, and expands the gaming regions throughout England into 19 individual territories. Each territory is further split into separate counties that you must control in order to take command of the entire territory. Each territory affords you a certain amount of gold, which can then be spent on bigger and better weaponry and tougher defensive strongholds. As the whole system works on a day-to-day basis, supporting characters will appear and update you on pressing matters of the day, such as troop morale and the situations of battle.
Your sword is sharper than your wit.
Take up the lance against Reginald.
Defender of the Crown is more of a board game hybrid than a fast-moving action title, and given the background of medieval folklore, this could easily be ruined with clichés and the obvious stereotypes surrounding Robin Hood's colourful lineup of merry men. Only our full review will reveal all.
Guards! These men are traitors. They were executed immediately.
But wait. What is the meaning of this? No!
A new day in England, indeed.
The daddy of all basketball games is back on court and set to rule the roost once more with its own brand of turbocharged super-fast hoop action. Keeping to the same button-mashing action of the originals, NBA Jam ups the on-court action from 2 to 3-man teams. It features players from all 29 official NBA teams, along with a wealth of famous personalities from the last 50 years of basketball. What's more, you can get a ton of special extras, including mini-games and unlockable secrets. The revised airplay system now provides even more spectacular dunking opportunities than before, and when you consider the amount of airtime each player gets, the potential to pass the ball around in mid-air before it's slam-dunked home is almost limitless. Couple this with 700 odd moves and you've got uber amounts of airplay and hoop-based acrobatics. By performing a variety of these skilled moves, players build up their jam meter. Once you've attained the maximum, through relentless shoving, stealing and dunking, it's jam time. Here, all manner of craziness abounds, and once your player's reached his hotspot, gravity-defying finishing moves are played out with heaps of slow-mo trickery and fancy camera work. And when you get bored of the numerous tournaments and exhibition modes on offer, NBA Jam goes retro, capitalising on the popularity of old NBA stars in Legends mode. Select a trio of pro players and you can travel back through the decades, and each era, from the 50s through to the 90s, showcases the relevant outfits, moves and environments of the time. Some of the matches are even played out in black and white. The only thing we can see standing in the way of NBA Jam's dominance is the equally impressive NBA Street Volume 2 from EA, which is quite simply the best basketball game ever. The court is set for a shootout of truly gargantuan proportions.
This is the tale of Bilbo Baggins, a hobbit with no idea of the adventures about to befall him, or their consequences.
My precious, it must know the way out! Burn the trees!
end of the Great War promised hope for a nation. The new nations turned to the sky, ushering in a new era of commerce. And with it, sky piracy was born. This is a world on fire. This is the world of crimson skies. Betty, you out there?
Read you loud and clear.
I want him dead. Now.
In an alternate universe, the mighty US is crumbling under the weight of a Great Depression. Microsoft has done away with roads and thieving airborne criminals rule the skies. In every possible essence, Crimson Skies is an arcade game. You take to the skies and avoid crashing into things by using the brakes. There's a turbo option to make use of if you're brave enough, but that drains away your special power meter. This comes in handy when you need to perform high-flying aerial acrobatics. Your scruffy-looking swashbuckler Nathan can perform loops and barrel rolls like his life depended on it, which funnily enough it does. As Nathan polices the skies, your sidekick at Base of Operations will update you on mission objectives. These often involve the reclamation of stolen zeppelins or tracking down some good-for-nothing pirate. But to avoid any confusion, when it comes to identifying a hulking great sky fortress, a handy compass points out your objectives in blue, enemies in red, and friendly gun emplacements in green. It's a simple enough system and one that works well enough. Full live play with dogfighting for up to 16 players should definitely sweeten up the overall package, as will capture the flag antics and the whole lengthy single-player business. More soon as we slowly edge towards Christmas.
I hope you don't mind if I leave my socks on. Hey, Maria?
I'm in.
Sam Fisher may have sneaked up on Solid Snake as the #1 stealth operative, but Nikki Connors is about to break cover with better-looking thighs. Rogue Ops drops you in the strides of a former Green Beret girlie out for revenge after terrorists took out her family. She's desperate for an apology, and the best place to find one is the subversive Omega 19 organisation responsible for the attack. It comes as no surprise that stealth is obviously the main fighting component, but at least Rogue Ops provides an interesting twist on the standard formula. On sneaking up behind an enemy, a meter appears, and once you're fully committed to the bloodless kill, you'll have to input a succession of combo directions on the D-pad before a timer runs out. The string of combos varies in length depending on how full the meter is. For instance, the longer you take to ready yourself, the shorter amount of time you'll have to punch in the combinations. Fluff this up and things start to get messy, and there'll be clearing up to do afterwards. Pull it off, however, and you deliver a bone-breaking sequence of hits which ensures a stealthy getaway. The control system is pressure sensitive, so the whole stealth and sneaking around part works well enough. You can tiptoe along at a snail's pace, steadily increase to a light jog, and even scale walls Sam Fisher style. In fact, the whole experience is near on Splinter Cell, except you're obviously a girl, and it's a bit more fun in places with cooler toys to play with. Nikki has access to the usual array of stealth operative gadgetry, special vision goggles, for instance, that turn night into day, and handily enough alert you to the presence of hidden traps and obstacles. Best of all, though, is the flying camera, cunningly disguised as a harmless insect. Pilot this and you can scout the area ahead for enemies without drawing any attention to yourself. We'll be keeping a close eye on this one more soon. Last month, we turned our entire Explorer Extra section over to Project Gotham Racing 2, but those were just a loose collection of screenshots. This month, we've made serious progress. Gotham's kudos system, where you're awarded points for driving either well or dangerously, still remains the core gameplay concept. The more kudos you earn, the more vehicles, skins, tracks you can unlock. But the biggest improvement is the good line bonus that now rewards you for taking the perfect racing line around bends. So if you weren't overly keen on Project Gotham's reliance on power sliding, Gotham 2 has the power to win you back. Graphically, it's far superior than before, right down to the very last detail. The buildings are less flat now, displaying the essential detailing of windows, pillars, balconies and doorways. The skyscrapers in Chicago are pretty damn shiny too, for instance, as are the ancient cobbled streets and alleyways of Florence, Italy. It all looks lovely and each worldly location really comes alive. And just feast your eyes on those cars. If you press your face against the TV screen hard enough, you can actually see your reflection in the windscreen. Well, maybe not. But what we're trying to explain here is that you won't find lighting effects put to better use in any other driving game, period. What's more, you actually get real men driving the cars, all the cars in fact. Gotham 2's scorching lineup of motors really does include some sweet-looking rides. There's an entire Ferrari section, including the new Enzo and Dino GT models. You can also get to drive the Porsche GT2 and BMW Z4, among other exclusive high-performing vehicles, all fully licensed with realistic damage modelling. Yes, Project Gotham 2 is going to be quite amazing. Doubly so if you're wired up for Xbox Live, as your performance on each of the 92 tracks in the one-player game will be ranked on Gotham 2's online scoreboard. Better still, a ghost car of your performance is uploaded after each race too, so anyone can download it and watch your amazingly rubbish lap played out before them. Gotham 2 is by far the biggest and most comprehensive racer yet. Prepare.